Good evening, everyone. My name is Charity Rouse. I'm the Director of Local History for the Spartanburg County Public Libraries. And I am delighted to host and present our First Monday Genealogy series, which you may also find the recordings on the library's YouTube page. Um, if you are listening to the recording and would like a copy of the handout for the Zoom program, you may contact us at our Spartanburg Libraries in the Contact Us. Just choose History, the local history option, and request the handout. Or if you are with us live, the handout is in the chat. So, and there will be an email at the end of the program as well. So, FamilySearch. It is the largest repository of genealogical documents and encompasses the world. And they've added some really cool sources beyond their main wiki tree, which I will talk about just a moment at the end of the program. But if I can get the right thing to go, there. What are we going to be talking about tonight? We will be talking about climbing that mountain of records um, that is there. Uh, we'll cover how to create your free account or sign in. We're going to look at full text search using the catalog. You've got to think like a librarian. And the Family Search Research Wiki, as well as the AI assistant that they have launched in recent months. So, a little bit about FamilySearch.org. It is the largest online database of genealogical records. It is provided for free by the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, headquartered in Salt Lake City, Utah. They have been collecting genealogical records since 1894 and began partnering with county clerks, state records offices, churches, etc., to microfilm their records in 1938. The program has now moved to digitization of records, and they have now digitized all 2.5 million rolls of microfilm or something incredible that they have. Most of these are accessible online now. Some are not, and I'll talk later about some of those reasons. So, how do you access these? Well, you can do many things. You can travel to Salt Lake City and go to the, as I call it, Big Mama Library and research there. They do have some print collection, and a few of the microfilms, I believe, are still available there that are not available digitally. Um, there are also local family search centers in cities around the world, formerly known as family history centers. The one here in Spartanburg is on Quail Drive. And affiliate libraries, such as Spartanburg County Public Libraries. There are a couple hundred, at least now, affiliate libraries that are not church associated. So many public libraries with a decent sized family history genealogy room, local history, have the affiliate library agreement with FamilySearch. And then the largest place you can get FamilySearch is at home online. They launched that website in 1999, so somewhat on the cutting edge of uh, World Wide Web and internet beyond email. Um, However, the things available on the site have changed considerably since 1999. It was literally just indexes to things and no images in 1999. And we've got all sorts of fun tools now to use. So, to sign in and use FamilySearch, because they have to maintain statistics for who is looking at the images to the owners of those images. So it is for data protection, it is for transparency to the people who own the records and allow FamilySearch to host them on the web, that you do have to sign in. Um, you can create a sign in, and they give you these great choices, not so great choices. At the very top of their sign in, I highly recommend, as a librarian and for data privacy, that you do not use your Google, your Facebook, or your Apple accounts. If you have a church account, that's a whole different thing. If you are an LDS member, use your church account because you get access to some things, particularly LDS church records, that the rest of us can't see. However, I would highly recommend that you create a username, you create a password that you use just for family search. Um, you can sign up to access it. Again, create a family search username and password. It it will ask these following things: your name, your birth date, because they do have to verify that you are older than 13 and for some things and 18 for other things. You create your username, you create your password, you create a recovery email so that if you get locked out, they can email you your password. You can opt into email messages about discoveries about your ancestor, family search updates, information about events, and actually you can opt in or out of any of those levels of emails. They generally don't spam you too badly. Although I have to say I have opted out of the one about my ancestors because I got tired of seeing your first cousin 12 times removed was on the Oregon Trail or went to Salt Lake City. Um, I don't need that information. I need closer information to me, not that many removes. I get a lot of emails. Just saying. Your mobile phone number that can also be used for authentication of your account. And you can opt into discoveries about your ancestors, etc., on your mobile number. Again, it's up to you how much you would like to receive in either of those. Um, and you can ask for membership information, or and then you have to read and consent to the terms of use and privacy notice. They generally don't sell your stuff for advertising. So this is the homepage after I have signed in. And you will see the AI research assistant, which we'll talk about at the end. They're advertising Roots Tech, that class schedule and what is available from home at 2 a.m. in your bunny slippers, as Judy Russell, the legal genealogist, usually says. Those are free classes. They will be a variety of levels of genealogy knowledge. It's worth taking a look. It's worth signing up for and catching a couple sessions. Many of the ones that are offered online are asynchronous, so you don't have to watch at that particular time. There is sometimes a delay after the live session for the online session to be offered, but those classes are up for quite a while afterward, depending on who's presenting. You can do things like build their family tree. We'll talk a little bit about that later. You can start searching for an ancestor from here. But tonight, we're going to ignore all of those for the moment. We're going to talk about some specific ways we can search more intelligently than just throwing a dart into the void rather than at the dartboard. We're going to talk about creating your dartboard so that you can focus your research better. So the search menu, which the yellow arrow is pointing at, has a number of things. It has records, full text, images, family tree, genealogies, which are people's uploaded like ancestry trees, um, or personal ancestral files and other family unit charts and that kind of thing, which is largely what FamilySearch started with. The catalog, books, the Research Wiki, cemeteries, and newspapers. Of these, we're going to talk about searching records, the full text search, which just came out of beta a month and a half or so ago, the catalog, and the Research Wiki. And again, I'll talk a little bit about that AI research assistant at the end. So let's jump into the record search. You can find a lot of different types of records in the record search. Well, how do you do it? You click on records under the search bar and you get this page and it tells you, hey, you're searching historical records. And at the upper left, I don't have an arrow for this, sorry. Under the main search bar, you get the search bar horizontally at the top of this page. And you put in your first name, last name, birthplace, and birth or death year, and hit search. So I typed in John Rouse, South Carolina, birth year 1841, and then when I got into the search, I did add the death date, 1918, except for I put that in the birth range, which is why I was getting weird results. So, if there's a mistake in genealogy and how you do something, I've probably made it. So I'm telling you best practices and I'm telling you what I've learned from experience. You get better results if you fill in the form accurately. But anyway, you will notice there I got about 10,400 results, which is a lot to weed through. Not all of the results are from my John Rouse or any of my 3 John Rouses in the last 4 generations, 2 of them being born in South Carolina during that date range. So for a somewhat uncommon surname, John is a very common forename. So, but, I started looking at them. The first one is actually my John J. Rouse. He died in 1918. He was born in 1841. And you can see the citation for the record. You can see the information contained in the record. And so you get a little bit of information. And you can, if you click into that image, you can see, hey, this is the South Carolina death certificate for J.J. Rouse. This is the next thing. It is John H. Rouse, not my guy. Born in 1878, died in residence date from this obituary 1957, from Mount Pleasant, death date in August of 1957. One thing to note, FamilySearch is now linking to results from Genealogy Bank. It is a subscription newspaper site. So if you go to Genealogy Bank, they're going to want you to have an account. It may differ for LDS church members. With a church sign-in, you may have access to this. If for the rest of us, you're going to have to subscribe if you want this record. You can check with libraries. A few libraries have a library edition of Genealogy Bank, and it's not called Genealogy Bank, but it's a library version. Other libraries are going to have, like we have Newsbank. Other libraries are going to have newspapers.com, which is paired with Ancestry. So there are quite a few newspaper subscriptions out there, and they all cover different papers and different eras of papers. So just know you may hit a paywall on occasion, although by and large, everything on FamilySearch is free. But this is an obit. But at least you get the transcription and you get the name of the newspaper and the location. So, and you get some names of people who are listed in that obituary. But not my John Rouse. So I'm moving on. The record search will also take you to censuses. Not all of the censuses, but most of the censuses at least have an index. Um, Now that they've got full text search, more of them are being put up here. But this is my John J. Rouse. Notice the spelling, they shorten JOHN to JNO. And he's male, he's 18, born approximately 1842. This is 1860. Um, and he's in Darlington, my guy. But you'll notice everybody else in the household is initials only. R.A. Rouse, C. Rouse, S.J. Rouse, W.M. Mercer. Um, And so you have to figure out, is that the right household? It is the right household. R.A. Rouse is dad. C. Rouse is stepmom. William Mercer is her son from a previous marriage. Yes, there's 20-year age difference between the two. Um, and Sarah Jane Rouse is his sister, S.J., who's 16. So we know, looking at this index, though, C. Rouse cannot be the parent of the older two children. She is not old enough. 22 is just not old enough. Old enough to be the mother of the 2-year-old. So, when you're finding your resources, do look at them and think of critically about, is this the right or wrong person? And you can save things to the tree at FamilySearch. You can create that kind of thing. You can download the image and save it to wherever you are saving your own tree in whatever program you use. So let's look a little more at the full text search. This is improved significantly since they launched it in beta year and a half, 2 years ago now. A lot of my genealogy folks who come through the room and who I talk with on a regular basis have found some absolutely fantastic things in this full text search. Yes, it is full text search of both typed and handwritten documents. So it's really cool. Now, does it catch everything? No. Bad handwriting kills AI just like it kills other researchers. So again, double check, read it. Is it your person? What does the text actually say? So, um, under that search menu, you go to full text. You get this search page. And there are different ways to search. You can search a string of text. You can search keywords and quotes if you want to do a name and keywords, or a first and middle name and keywords. And then there is a name search available. You can search by place. You can search by multiple of these. And you can also search for an image group number if you know the image group number for a collection that you want to look at. And so you can search for a specific collection. I'm going to scroll down just a little bit here so we can see the tips for successful full text searching. Find an exact word or phrase. You can include a specific word or phrase. So you may want to say, name John Rouse, specific word or phrase, um, uh, deed in kind, or I don't know, commissioner of revenue, or something like that for the phrase. You can, again, put a location in there. So John Rouse, Darlington County, or just South Carolina. So you can search some combinations. You can exclude specific words or phrases with the minus symbol. So some old school Boolean searches that we haven't had to think about for a minute, for those of us who've been out of grad school long enough. So it just depends on the types of searches. There are tips there. You can click the help stuff and they've got help uh, things for you. They've got a little video on how to use Family Search full text search. You can find different forms of a root word, so you can use some wildcards in there so that you're not having to do 15 searches for 15 word variants. So there's some really cool tips and tricks here. So I changed to John J.J. Rouse's wife, Amanda Thornhill. Her mother is also Amanda Thornhill. Mom is Amanda M. Thornhill. Daughter is Amanda Louise or Louisa Thornhill. So Amanda Thornhill caught both of them. You will notice in full text search for Amanda Thornhill in quotes, keyword, in place, South Carolina, United States, I had a grand total of 3 results, which is good because it's less to winnow through. So the first one is one I had never seen before because plats are the bane of our existence because they are so seldom indexed. Um, and so this is a plat for the neighbor, Mr. James, and A. Thornhill or A.M. Thornhill is there at the top, and it shows which portion of his property she is the neighbor for, which is fantastic. Now, you see in the right-hand side the transcript, and it is highlighting keywords in yellow. So you're seeing Darlington, South Carolina, um, the Darlington district. Oh, there is Amanda Thornhill. And then going on, South Carolina comes up. So you're getting multiple hits for multiple of those words, but they are highlighted and the transcription is scrollable for longer documents. You can, at the top, just to the right of where it says save record in the turquoise, it says show keywords. You can turn that off and it will um, take the highlights out. There is also a summarize the document. I would use this sparingly because this is where AI is getting things very wrong pretty consistently. In my experience, I didn't do an example of summarizing the document. Sorry. Um, the next one was a death certificate of JJ and Amanda Louisa Thornhill's son, R.A. Rouse. Um, Not the same middle name, middle initial as his grandfather. And it is typed, so this does do typed and handwritten documents. As you could tell on the previous one, the handwriting doesn't have to be completely straight for the tool to catch it these days. That was an earlier problem in previous incarnations of the full text search. And again, you see the names highlighted in both the document and in the transcript in the summary. Now, this is land referenced in that neighboring James plat earlier. I'm pretty confident because it was the only land that I think Amanda M. Thornhill owned. And there are a couple of deeds. The latter deed was in the 1870s and is not yet online. I have looked at it at the Darlington courthouse or the Darlington Historical Commission one, but it just hasn't, that era hasn't been filmed and put online yet. But this is 1855. It is a land deed. I struggled to read some of these words, so that helped me know that the handwriting transcription is getting better and better all the time. But in this, a John Sidney Kelly is leaving to his sister, Amanda M. Thornhill. Well, leaving. She's paying him a bunch of money for this land, but he is holding it in trust for her or her heirs until her husband, Wiley Thornhill, is dead and his debts are settled. She married a deadbeat, raised a couple of his sons from his first marriage. He left her, may have additional families in Missouri and or Mississippi. And the youngest child she raised, her death certificate does not name her as mama. So either the granddaughter giving the information was incorrect, or we got a whole mess that Mr. Wiley Thornhill perpetuated. And so anyway, but I know that is the right Amanda M. Thornhill because her daughter is named as an heir with her husband's name as well. 1850s, women were starting to be able to own land in their own name. It was still fairly unusual unless you were officially widowed. Um, so, and divorce was not a possibility until 1872 to 1878 in South Carolina, and then again, not until April 15th of 1949. So, when she's getting the land in 1872, before she moves to Bibb County, Georgia, with the other children, not my Amanda Louise, she is getting it from John Sidney Kelly's executor, Mary Kelly. So John has died. They're trying to get the estate. They may have just declared that Wiley Thornhill had been out of the picture long enough that he was considered to be dead. Now, the first time I found this, I found it the really hard way because that was what was available in 2012. I was out in Salt Lake City for a course that I was taking on researching records, and part of our assignments were in the Family History Library, now FamilySearch Library. And I went straight to this roll of microfilm and was learning how to use some of that and found this. And I was like, what? She's getting it and held in trust, and it's 55 acres, and what? So, I transcribed it at that point, and I missed basically the things I couldn't read are the things that the handwriting transcription couldn't read either. So, deeds are somewhat formulaic, and then you have the what was that moment? So, it was fun to see this and realize that my transcription was pretty darn good. So, we're going to move down to the catalog section of things. In other words, the think like a librarian part of this. When you are looking for someone, instead of going, I want to see everything on this person, which is the Google approach, focus your approach. What are you really looking for? Are you looking for land records, buying and selling land in a particular county? Those are still at the county level in most places in the United States. Federal land is a whole nother ballpark. But once it's sold from federal land, it goes to the county, and you're looking at the county or local jurisdiction, parish in Louisiana, etc. So we're going to take a look in the catalog at some of the resources and how to really focus in on what you're looking for so you don't have 10,000 search results to go through, because that's not effective use of your time. Now, it's a good overview, and maybe something floats to the top and you find that needle in the haystack because it's in a jurisdiction you weren't thinking to look. But a lot of the time we know the jurisdiction we need to focus on. So, in the catalog search, You can search by place, surname, titles, author, if it's one of their books, subjects, which are Library of Congress subject headings for the most part, but subject headings, keywords. We're going to look at the place search in the example. So it's set to search by place, and you start typing, and I started typing Spartanburg. Now, you do have to remember that there are levels and time periods where Spartanburg County, Spartanburg, the town, now city. Um, there is a Spartanburg in Indiana, much smaller than we are. It does still exist. Spartanburg County was at one point in the Pinckney district, as you see in this dropdown. We were in District 96 for a hot minute. So you may have to look, given the time periods, at a different thing than just Spartanburg County. So read the times of the jurisdictions, and then there are ways to navigate between them. Now, in the catalog, you will see be able to see images as long as you are logged in. If you get an error message that you can't see an image in any of this, make sure you are logged into your FamilySearch account. Um, if you cannot see it unless you are at a FamilySearch center, or in very rare circumstances, less than 5% of the information is available only at FamilySearch Library in Salt Lake City. And that is usually because of contract disputes with the uh, document owners. Connecticut Archives is one that doesn't let them put it out because they make 85 bucks a pop when somebody orders the document from them in Connecticut. And it's built into their budget and they don't want to lose that. So there are a couple other places. Sometimes with some of the records that have been donated, they haven't been able to, they're not out of copyright yet, and they haven't been able to track down copyright holder or their descendants. And so they just can't put those up. They're working their way through, especially if it's on a roll of microfilm that they scanned that has 7 or 8 different things on it. It's holding up everything on that microfilm roll until they work through each of the rights holders. So just know, sometimes there are reasons for the error messages you get. There is often a lock and key listed. Um, so, you know, sometimes you hit a hiccup. Most of the time, this works. So when I clicked in on that, I made sure that I was limiting to what's online, because any availability may mean it's in a book on the shelf in Salt Lake City. And that's not terribly helpful unless you're planning a trip to Salt Lake City. So for most of us, we're doing this from home or from a library on a computer at a distance. So you will notice that online thing where the yellow arrow is. There's also under this top gray bar a notes list that says place information. If you click that, that will give you the history of the location and what it was formed from, what the dates are, what may have been formed from it. So I believe Spartanburg tells you when Cherokee County was formed from Spartanburg, York, and Union counties in 1897. But you will see the subject list going down the left-hand side: biography, cemeteries, census, genealogy periodicals, histories. J.B.O. Landrum's History of Spartanburg County is in that, and it is digitized and it is available there. That's in the books section that we're not officially covering tonight. And you keep going down. And so I went down and I opened up the land and property entries. And then we're going to click on conveyance books for Spartanburg County, South Carolina, 1785 to 1911, indexes 1785 to 1919. Now, just note, we have those exact same microfilms in the drawer in the Kennedy room that you can look at on our microfilm machines. This is slightly faster process. So I click into that conveyance books and it gives me 493 full text search results in there. And I'm looking in the grantor deed indexes. And I got a slide out of order somewhere, so we'll get to it. Um, sorry. This is what a page in one of those deed indexes looks like. And you can see who bought the land, direct index, and who they're selling it to, the grantee. Sorry, who's selling the land and who's buying it, grantor and grantee. We got here slightly out of order. Sorry about that. By going into that first entry, and you can see the digitized, there's a little camera to the left of what I've got highlighted. And then you can see the images on that film and just scroll through it like you're looking at the microfilm machine. Or you can search for records using the full text search while in the catalog. So this will search just that record. And so in the search box for that, in those grantor deed indexes, I'm going to type in Charles Moore, and I don't remember if he's in deed indexes volume 1 or one of the other volumes, but pretend I searched for Charles Moore, and you'll see that in the Spartanburg land records, 1785 to 1787, we have Charles Moore selling to Thomas Moore, his heirs and assigns, some land. Thomas Moore was one of Charles Moore's sons. Charles Moore is the person who built Walnut Grove Plantation. So, again, you see the highlights within the full text search, which is just kind of cool and kind of helpful. So, we're going to move on to the research wiki. And just a note on this one. I had problems on Microsoft Edge getting to the research wiki. Could everything else on the site? Absolutely fine. Research wiki, there is an error. You do not have access permission. They've been tightening stuff up at the library on all of our computer security stuff. And I was like, okay, called the systems guys. Nope, not us. Worked fine on Chrome. So I had to switch over to Chrome for the research wiki. If you're having problems with one browser, try a different browser. Make sure you're signed in to your FamilySearch account, although that doesn't matter for the research wiki. That may have been part of the hang-up. I don't know. So, research wiki homepage starts with this beautiful map, and you can put your search place in that search bar there, or you can click around and click on North America and then click on your state and then click on your county. So there are a couple of ways to use it. And so I did a search for what do they have for Spartanburg County, South Carolina? Well, not everything is quite up to date. That is no longer our courthouse. Our courthouse, that building was knocked down about 2 years ago. So the new courthouse is a big white building, not a mid-century modern building. So, you know, it is a wiki. You can sign up to make an account so that you can submit corrections and additions to whatever location you want to help maintain. So it just depends. We would correct that picture, but we don't have a picture of the new courthouse yet in our collections. So, oh well. But you will find a description of the county or the topic, and then you get an address and stuff for the county courthouse. And each county's record is going to be largely the same information in the same order. You get record dates, 1785 when we were founded. You get records such as births and deaths from 1915, marriages from July of 1911, although this just says 1911, court records from 1785, land from, it says 1784. It couldn't be recorded until 1785, but their probate starts really in 1787, and census, of course, in 1790. So, you keep going down the page. It shows you a little map where we are in South Carolina in the top right there. Record loss. We've gotten off fairly easy for South Carolina counties. Just the 1890 lost census. And some suggestions for places to research if there is record losses and that kind of thing. Boundary changes. We've had boundary changes as recently as since I've been here, and I've only been here 11 and a half years. So it just depends. That was a redrawing of the North and South Carolina borderline. Again, populated places, so you can search for some of these cities, towns, unincorporated areas, and census designated areas. So basically our townships. Um, you get a little history timeline if one is available. There isn't one available for us. Their resources, they don't have any Bible records linked. We do have a biography linked that is in their collection. Cemeteries, we have more listed. So if you don't see a blue link or a bullet pointed something underneath the topic, FamilySearch doesn't have any listed in their wiki, but they have the header there because it's a standardized template. And you get the census records and you keep going down. So, and you can do this for any area or region. So it's kind of helpful. If you all of a sudden find that your person is living in Muncie, Indiana, Google search is going to take you to some information about the community, but the wiki is going to take you to this is when the records exist. Um, some of you may be old enough to remember the Ancestry Red Book, which is just a print book of this type of information for every state. We have a copy on our shelf, and I still go back and use it because I find it easier for quick reference because it's handy. But it was last published in paper in 2003, and Ancestry no longer really has that kind of help section on their site anymore. So, and it's behind a paywall if it is. So, this is really an excellent resource for finding out where things are. Some of the links will take you to paid resources that Virginia Vital Records. Hey, Virginia has contracted with Ancestry. If you are a person living in Virginia, you can access those for free. If you have an address outside of Virginia, you cannot access those items except for through Ancestry paywalled or from Library Edition at your library. So, okay. The wiki tree is what FamilySearch has historically been known for. It's what they developed very early from a lot of people's self-produced and verified genealogy information. The genealogy information is only as good as the sources, and that's one of the reasons why FamilySearch is so big on having as many of the sources available as possible. We are all just fortunate they share it with the rest of us. So, my recommendation is you can use the wiki tree. I use it for hints because I know that any other user of the site who has a login, and it's free, of any genealogical ability or none at all, and they really don't know what they're doing, but some people really know a lot about what they're doing, but they can change any profile that is marked deceased. So just know this is the big problem with the wiki tree. If somebody mixes up your Mary Jane Lawhorn with the one born approximately 6 months prior to her in the same county in Virginia, and they merge the two profiles because they didn't read the document they were merging from, which was a death certificate. Um, well, one Mary Jane Lawhorn is still very much alive and kicking. The other one died in 1990, but they have two very different sets of parents, and I haven't been able to tell how we're related to the other Mary Jane Lawhorn. I'll get there, but probably about third or fourth cousins to my mother. But they are definitely not the same person. And getting that straightened out took a little bit. So, um, so I would recommend, using this as a site for suggestions for sources, um, but not necessarily taking everything on the tree at face value. The family tree on FamilySearch has more than 1 billion with a B people. Anyone with a login can edit those profiles. It is the goal of the tree to have one singular profile for each deceased person, and each profile does receive a unique ID. So for Otho Turner, um, that would be KHLM-4ND. So it's just one of those things. They do have prompts for possible missing children, spouses, parents, locations, etc. But you can also see who has made changes on the profile. I do recommend that you use it for hints. Well, one way you can use it for hints is this new AI research assistant. I would say be very, very careful. It works with your tree information, so you have to have connected you to your parents, to their parents, and then whoever is deceased will show up to anyone on the site. So this is at that top of the homepage when you sign in. AI Research Assistant found new ancestors who could grow your family tree. So the possible child of Elizabeth Bennet, I clicked review an ad, and it's telling me there's a Virginia birth certificate between 1901 and 1914 that is naming Elizabeth Davis Bennet. And that Otro Wilson Turner is listed as child of Elizabeth Bennet in the record. It's not found on my tree. And so I go into the record, viewing the record. I know that this is my great uncle Otho, Otho, not Ottro, Wilson Turner. And there's a misspelling on both his and his father's Otho, which is a standard name on the eastern shore of Virginia in that period and earlier. Not sure where it came from, but I just know I see it in lots and lots and lots of records for that area. Well, I went over to see, okay, I don't remember putting Uncle Wilson on the tree, and I certainly hadn't, but I went to my tree, and you see his father here, Otho Scarborough Turner, and Elizabeth Bennet, not Elizabeth Davis Bennet. That's her daughter, is Elizabeth Davis Turner. I'm not absolutely convinced that Elizabeth Davis Bennet isn't just an error of the informant. Maybe not, maybe something I've got to look into. Well, when I click into this Elizabeth Bennet, this is her profile page. And so you see the vital information for her: name 15 sources for Elizabeth Bennet. She's female, 11 sources for her birth in 1879 in Accomack County, Virginia. You see some alternate names with their married name. But none of these, I mean, a couple of them say Elizabeth D. Turner, so Davis may be the correct middle name. But you also see an alternate name of Lizzie D. Turner because, yes, she was Elizabeth. She went by Lizzie. Over on the right, you have some research helps. It will say possible missing child. Well, we know there are actually two of the four who made it to adulthood are missing from at least my tree and this profile. And then you can also search records at a variety of places, some of them free and some of them pay, that you can then link with your family search tree. Scrolling down, you get to events and listings of residents, all mostly in Accomack, Virginia. And you get the family members and you see spouses and children. You see there are two children listed, my grandmother and the eldest sister, but not the two boys who made it to adulthood. I haven't done a lot of work on this line on Family Search. But anyway. And then you've got her parents, Thomas Henry Bennett, Georgiana Scott, and you've got other siblings. And there were a passel of them. I know of most of the ones who made it to adulthood. And then you can see on the right-hand side here, latest changes. It tells you who has changed something, added a source, changed a name, added a date, added a child, removed a child because they discovered it was the wrong Elizabeth Bennet, various things. But you can go through the change log and see who's working on that tree. You can contact them. But you can also know who got that merge wrong, um, or who got that merge right, who figured out, oh, these people are the same. And then there's some tools there that you can use. So, um, I tried to add the birth certificate, but I was not going to add it with that name error, and it wouldn't let me, and I didn't have time to troubleshoot. I will have one of the staff members who works a lot more with Family Search show me how to do that at some point in the future. So, one of the things to remind you, check your sources. Family Search has a lot of really fantastic sources. We now have, with the full text searching, you can get to it in various ways. You have so many opportunities to find those records that you couldn't find before. Please know that if it is misspelled or very oddly spelled in the record, it's going to be just as hard for the AI to find it as it is for you. So you still have to help it with some alternative spellings and that kind of thing and some wild cards. Um, make sure you look at the claimed source and agree that death certificate for Mary Jane Lawhorn was definitely not my mama. And so you want to make sure that people are interpreting the records correctly. Do you agree with the conclusion the other researcher has made? Was the person old enough or young enough to have been the parent or child in a particular relationship? Like C. Rouse was not old enough to be the parent of JJ or Sarah Jane. So you got to use your brain and don't just get click happy because Ancestry will put that stepmama as the mama in a heartbeat. Are siblings born in locations which make sense? I have seen entries not just in the family search tree, they're improving that, because they flag stuff, but also in ancestry trees where one child is born in Connecticut, the next child is born less than 10 months later in England, the next child is born maybe 8 months later in Pennsylvania, and the math doesn't math. Um, so for especially for mother-child relationships. Now, daddy can have as many kids as he wants by different women in a very short period of time, potentially. So, think it through. In the family search records, no, not everything is indexed and searchable by name, not even close. However, the more they add to the full text search, which does not include all 2.5 million rolls of microfilm, plus all the digitization they've done yet, they're working on it. They're adding stuff. The collection is growing. So, this is something you'll need to check back on if you're not finding things, because you may find, like I found, Darlington County deeds for the period I need for that 1870s deed are still not yet online. So, eventually, think like a librarian. Look at groups of records like birth, marriage, or death registers. Look at a specific type of resource. Focus your research so you're not getting overwhelmed by thousands of results. Think about the location your ancestor would have been living at the time a record would have been created. Don't forget to check the places just over the borders, particularly if they lived near another county, found a marriage for someone just Friday, where the marriage had occurred just over the property line in the next county versus in the original county where that couple lived the rest of their life. And what were the geographic boundaries at the time? Did they move? Because geographical boundaries move all the time. So, I know this is a very high level, very quick overview of these resources at FamilySearch, but have some fun, play with that. Play with those other search focused areas, the newspapers and the books and the genealogies and things, um, on your own. And if you have questions, you're welcome to contact us. Um, don't be afraid to use your local resources, such as an affiliate library or your local family search center, to help with items only available at an affiliate library or family search center, or which have not been digitized. And it's one of those things where if you live locally to a library and you do not utilize their genealogy or local history resources or room, if they have one, um, then they risk not having enough patron interactions and they lose funding and they lose space. And so, stop by every once in a while, sign in, look at a book, ask what databases they have. They may have databases that you can't get to from home. Even though we can do a lot of things online by ourselves in our homes, not everything is online. And help the libraries help you by coming in and being a presence. Um, so happy researching. I think I've seen some questions file through. The email address to ask for the link to the handout is on the screen, kroom@infodepot.org, or if you go to spartanburglibraries.org webpage and the contact us uh, selection, I think it's local history. Um, so, okay, Cheryl.
Yes, ma'am. Okay, I don't see any questions in the
Oh,
chat. Do you? Okay. I was just doing the handout thing, but as
gotcha.
always, I either have a question of my own or a tip to go along with
Okay.
one of your suggestions. If
Yes.
you're using the full text search in Family Search, I think it helps to narrow things down. I found this out from a patron actually, who told me about it. But if you're looking for, say, a probate file on someone, if you put their name in, but then also add the keyword amen, as in Amen. And
Okay.
then press go or start or whatever gets you there. And it will read that amen because that is always in most wills. In the name of God,
Yes.
amen. And so
Yep.
that's an easy way to find probate files without having to, just go through 1800, you know, su- suggestions or
Yep.
links that come up. So if you're looking for probate files, that's a great way to weed out the ones is to use amen in the search bar in the the search bar.
That's pretty darn cool.
Yep.
Hadn't thought about that, but yeah, um, especially if you have a fairly common name that you're looking for, find those keywords that you can pair with the name that make it a little bit more unique. But amen for a probate file that has a will, not going to catch the intestate ones that don't have the will, but it might get you into a collection and then you can go back, go to the catalog, search the collection for the name so that you're focusing in. Now, full text keyword search, you're going to catch the name as the witness or the judge or the decedent or an heir or lots of different roles that people play in these records. So, no, there is still a fair amount of digging, but like that, um, the land plat for Amanda Thornhill, that tells me who the neighbors are because I don't have a plat for her land. And that gives me a better chance of being able to locate where her land was on current maps. Um,
The
there
other
are a
thing
lot of
to remember,
steps between that plat and
uh,
modern maps, but at least it's more information than I had before I found that.
I
So,
think that full text search is just a game winner. When
yeah,
they pulled that one out, records that you've never seen online before were
yep,
suddenly online, and
yep,
that's really cool. So, like you, I would highly suggest using it. And
yeah,
I think one of the best ways to do it if you're putting a name in is to put it in quotations. That way, you don't get every David Young
right.
or every David and Young. It'll
Yeah.
just be the David Young. So
Yeah,
that's
you're
it.
looking for those two names adjacent to each other.
Mhm, mhm.
And that makes a huge difference because, yeah, newspaper searching for the last name Rouse, you get Rouse. You get all of the serial stories in the Victorian era that their passions were aroused. Rouse is in the middle of that. Or let's rouse to the battle. Let's rouse to the fight. So it's a word in another context, not just a name. Miller is one, Smith is one. So there are times when it's a royal pain to have a name that is also a word in other articles if you're searching newspapers. And it's just it gets really interesting.
Oh,
Um I've been diving back into my Johnsons and oh my goodness, are they difficult. I feel for the people with Smith. I really do. Johnson's only the 10th most populous name in the US in 2020 census. Ah,
well, there
lots
doesn't
of
seem to be any other questions.
okay.
So
Well, thank you
unless you
so
have,
much, everybody, for coming tonight. Hope you learned something new, different, or helpful. And look forward to seeing you again in the future. Thank you so much. And we can stop the recording, Cheryl.